is sometimes often more inspiring for the spirits of the participants than the spectators. But I did find groups in Washington that got to that next level. There were 3 specific demonstrations I found that really excelled at getting out the message in a way that got many people to notice it, and think about the issue in ways they hadn't before. The first demonstration that I want to show you begins in front of a very unlikely and unique place, Walter Reed Army Hospital. Here at Walter Reed, a group called CodePink Women for Peace began a weekly vigil in March of 2005 to raise public awareness of the injured troops brought in late at night from Iraq. Although the vigil was started by CodePink, the vigilers are a collection of people from veterans to military families and other people who hope for the safe return of our young men and women in arms. I met one woman named Candace, who, although not a member of CodePink, is there every Friday from 7 to 9, and she had some great insight about the vigil.
CodePink didn't want people to pass this site and, forget about the stories. And it was a vigil to keep in the public's mind constantly the horrible costs of this war. That right in our neighborhood here in D.C. is a hospital where there's soldiers who are suffering terrible. And these are young men who should be going to school and playing basketball and teaching and having girlfriends and having romance, enjoying life, and instead, they're suffering in that hospital. We call ourselves a vigil, the Walter Reed Vigil. In some ways, I think we're a new kind of vigil because we're not the kind of vigil where we're just quietly standing here. We do have a very clear political position.
Candace was right. The Walter Reed Vigil certainly has gone in a different trend from the typical ways of activism seen earlier. The Walter Reed Vigil does an excellent job because they don't attack or vilify their opponents to enforce their message. Instead, they are remembering the wounded and emphasizing the message of hope and safety for those serving our country. I asked the vigilers how the response was.
It's all positive. Once in a while somebody will give us a finger or whatever, but you can hear most people are waving back and many people will beep.
Get very supportive honks and responses from people on the street.
Well, it's run the gamut, but from the people who matter to us most, people on the inside, it's been fairly good for the most part, actually.
They were right, judging by the horn honks I heard, as well as from conversations with the young Iraqi veterans at Walter Reed, who didn't want to be interviewed on camera. Outside of the horn honks and thumbs ups I experienced as I stood on the corner, there was another symbol to the success of the vigil, and that was the counter-demonstration run by the Free Republicans, or Freepers. They arrived 5 months after CodePink settled in at Walter Reed. The Freepers are a symbol of the vigil's success because after the vigil began, various newspapers and news organizations started reporting more about the buses coming in during the late nights at Walter Reed. The Free Republicans came down after becoming nervous about CodePink's newfound publicity.
They purport to support the troops. You go down there, they're flying false flags, saying, oh, we support the troops. They do not support the troops. As a matter of fact, they have given money to the Iraqi terrorists, $650,000.
These people chose this spot to wage psychological warfare on the troops and their families because they're trying to lower the morale. They want us to lose the war.
You got a group down there that's CodePink. Their name is CodePink. They've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support the terrorists in Fallujah.
Let me put it this way. In the 60s, the left had the field to themselves and convinced the American people, aided and abetted by the mainstream media, that America was losing the war. I'm here to ensure that that does not happen again. These people on all these corners are here to ensure that that does not happen again.
Just to clarify, the accusations about CodePink being a terrorist organization comes from their partnership with an Iraqi veteran's widow in San Francisco who decided to raise money for basic living necessities for those ravaged in Iraq. A small percentage of the $650,000 came from CodePink, while most came from a campaign called Operation USA, which included corporations such as United Airlines, Target, Warner Brothers, Ernst & Young, Disney, and other major corporations. No money was actually sent to Iraq, supplies were. Even though the Freepers are clearly counter-protesting against Code Pink, the Freepers would deny those actions.
It's more or less not so much a demonstration, it's a rally to show support for our troops.
Well, once again, we are not protesting.
I'm sorry,
we are supporting the troops. Are we?
If that was the case, it seems odd that they need to constantly attack a peaceful vigil.
Yeah, I guess you can look at it as an attack. It's more of an education.
They're trying to lower the morale. They want us to lose the war until they forgot to renew their permit application for this spot. So they went in and got the permit for this corner on Friday nights. And Free Republic has a corner for permits for those corners over there on Friday nights. So the Pinkos had to go down there.
The original protests were really nasty. They would bring out coffins. They had signs that say, enlist here and die for Halliburton. I mean, they were really nasty. Terrible stuff. Maimed for a lie. You know, and this is the kind of stuff that
soldiers united. A little communist spin in there.
Candace and the other vigilers had their own opinions of the Freepers.
Well, I think they're just like us. I mean, they feel very strongly about what they're doing. I mean, I think they bring a lot of enthusiasm to it. I think loyalty to the government is very difficult. It's like losing your religion in a way.
If they were just quietly standing there in a respectful way, but they're so outrageous, and it's not appropriate for where we're at.
Well, if they want to stand and support the war, absolutely they're right. The fact that they try to make it personal attacks on us, it really minimizes their point of view, because it just shows that they are personally offended at the fact that we're opposed to the war.
A real significant change came with the exposure of what was going on in Abu Ghraib. They realized that, put them on the defensive a little bit. So they got rid of their unabashedly nasty personal signs, and then they came up with this whole slew of signs that said, we support the mission. First reaction was to come down here.
During this interview, I recall my chance to experience the free progression firsthand.
Okay, that's the other thing they do, exactly. Yes, and this they do every week. They make it a point to come down here probably 2 or 3 times during the night of the vigil with their cameras. They can't. You see how they still want to, you see how he'll yell something. They still want to try to provoke us into an argument.
However, the picture taken by the Freeps was a blessing. I combed the earlier records of their website. I found none of the coffins or any of the other harsh items they accused the vigilers of using. But I did find that the nasty progression of signs Candace described were there. It seems that the Freepers' harsh attitude against Code Pink really didn't help raise their support, but instead, it helped Code Pink. But the real success of the Walter Reed Vigil was its ability to bring awareness to the public concerning Walter Reed.
It would be real easy in a rush to drive by and not realize what you're driving by. And I feel good about that too. That was our purpose. As long as we're going to have guys fighting over there, then we shouldn't forget them.
Stirring words from Bruce. And what you see next will make it clear that his passion for bringing the troops home are echoed by many other activists. On July 3rd, Code Pink began their Troops Home Fast. It entailed a diverse crowd of over 500 activists from all over the country and the world to march on the White House and kick off a hunger strike, led by some notable celebrities. Having been planned since May 2006, the fast launched on July 3rd, the eve of our nation's founding. Diane Wilson, co-founder of Code Pink, had some encouraging words before things began.
We've got 3,000 people that have signed up for the hunger strike. And we got about 18 different countries. I think we're fixing to start a historical hunger strike. I think this hunger strike that we're going to start, we're going to announce it today, but begin tomorrow, I think it will lay the foundation for bringing the troops home.
We know war is murder. We know war is wrong. Come on, you got the spirit. You've known it all along. There's power in hunger, and hunger is power. We're growing stronger, yeah, stronger every hour.
CodePink was successful because they brought everyone together for a massive demonstration that included the raging grannies who trekked their way from New York City to D.C. Other groups joined in too, including Veterans for Peace, Iraq Veterans Against the War, Military Families Speak Out, the Youth Resistance Movement, Voters for Peace, and many, many, many more.
Raging sea of pain. Get in touch with Gandhi. You imagine peace. Watch us bring.
They also had strong leaders who spoke their minds.
It's time to pay back and pay up. And when you pay back and pay up, everybody benefits.
So we've got to change back to a government of the people here, and not an empire, not an imperialist.
I have a choice. And so this gives not just America, but the world a choice.
He is a pretender to our Oval Office, and the irony is he has caused so much damage in the world for an illegitimate president.
They led the charge on what would be the beginning of one of the strongest demonstrations I saw while in D.C. Even the Freepers, who had been so loud at Walter Reed, were stunned by the demonstration they saw.
We need more from your side.
Well, I'm here to protest against the protesters, I guess. To express our support for the war on terror.
CodePink marched and sang their way through the city. And the people I talked to were happily surprised by what they saw.
It's nice to know that people aren't just politically aware in DC and the larger cities, that it is something that's impacting the entire country, and I love to see that.
It's great to see this many people interested in having a peaceful solution.
I think it's great. I think anytime we can bear witness to the atrocities that are going on in the world today, I think that that's always a positive thing.
Not only was it the will and characters of the people who made the demonstration strong, but the music you hear really brought the group together, made their spirits strong, and attracted a lot of public attention. I asked the group Emma's Revolution, who toured around the country as a social justice band, how they felt music impacts activism.
We actually are met with tremendous enthusiasm. I think one of the things that's lacking for people often in the coverage that they see of things is a sense of hope and a sense of belonging and a real sense of purpose, you know, that things are not completely out of their hands, you know, that there is a place for every single person's input, and in fact their participation is vital.
So people of certain generation will say to us, wow, I didn't know anyone was still doing music like this. And then people of other generations will say, I didn't know anyone was doing anything like this.
Dan Ellsberg and others couldn't help but notice the success.
These people are very bizarre. That's why I like to be with them.
We're very spontaneous, we're very gutsy, we keep it fun, and we're very unpredictable.
I think it's amazing. I think America is ready to take the country back. I think America is ready to get more active.
CodePink succeeded in organizing a protest that got the word out stronger than most others I saw.
Children will be free to lead the world.
Even after the crowds had gone from the week of the 4th, the fast is still ongoing. Base camp was set up in Lafayette Park in front of the White House, while those who had to return home went to begin rolling fasts, where people alternated fasting and demonstrating each day in order to spread the message across America. The reason why Code Pink was successful was not just because of their big 2 days over the 3rd and 4th, but because they were able to carry that fast with a working body of people over the next 18 days I was able to be present for. The base camp served as a teaching center for the peace movement. People would stop, take a flyer, and sometimes sign up as a supporter of the peace movement. Code Pinkers like John Pope from Florida, who took time off from his construction job to be with the fast for a week, were happy to discuss many topics concerning the peace movement with anyone willing to listen. What has it been like fasting?
Amazing. Amazing. I'm an eater. I love to eat. I have never fasted in my life. I gave it a try. I never tried it again. If I thought this would be impossible. With the group, it's possible.
The base camp was led by water-only faster Diane Wilson.
We had a press conference with Women's Black Caucus and Maxine Waters and Barbara Lee, and we had and also Dennis Kucinich was there, and they're very strong in their demands to the White House to bring immediate withdrawal of the troops from Iraq. We've made some good allies, and we're persevering. Like I said, this is 12 days isn't really that far in a hunger strike. It's a long haul, and we intend to be here.
Code Pink did what many protests have failed to do: reach out to people and legislators. They aren't just there to protest for the day, but they are fueling a grassroots movement, a pink grassroots movement. Co-founder Gail Murphy details how successful Code Pink is at getting the word out and organizing.
And then we've got about 170 or 80,000 people signed on to our listserv. So everything that we do is really focused on strategies to raise awareness, to move Congress, to move public opinion to getting the troops home as soon as possible.
The Troops Home Fast was a success because of its strong organization, energetic and welcoming atmosphere, and its opening numbers helped jumpstart it to the next level where it is heard by the political movers in D.C. Members of the fast have met with politicians and sat in on public hearings concerning the issue since the demonstration began. And it all started with the simple mobilization of the passionate spirits of some of America's proudest voices.
Bring the troops on fast. Bring the troops on fast. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Never turning back.
America has many voices, many thoughts, and many ideas. The last group of people I want to show you represent a growing voice in America, a voice that grows every day as the war in Iraq continues. Amidst all the pink, orange, red, white, and blue, there is another color lying beneath them all: yellow.
My now fiance was deployed to Iraq in January of 2005.
Our daughter is currently in Iraq. She's been there since last October. We, night and day, are consumed with anxiety and worry for her safety and for her life.
My son was an active duty Marine for 4 years, did 2 back-to-back tours.
The conditions are deplorable. They're absolutely deplorable that the troops are subjected to. They don't even have food. I have to send food from home so she can eat and share with her soldiers.
I joined Military Families Speak Out right after Sherwood was killed in 2004, April 26, 2004.
rich people aren't joining the military. I mean, my son went because if he wouldn't have gone if we'd had enough money to put him through college, but we didn't. That was clearly one of the reasons he enlisted. So it's not like our military families have a lot of, disposable income and free time. So people are truly making sacrifices to be here.
My son, Sergeant Sherwood Baker, was killed in Iraq on April 26, 2004. He was part of the Pennsylvania National Guard. He was the first Pennsylvania National Guardsman to die in combat since 1945. In fact, that's how he kept assuring us that he would be okay. Nobody in the Pennsylvania National Guard had been killed in combat since the Second World War.
This group, known as Military Families Speak Out, began a demonstration they call Operation House Call just outside the Capitol in front of the Cannon Building, a building that houses the offices of a large number of our country's senators and representatives. Stacey Bannerman, creator of the demonstration, explains.
Well, it started officially, we launched on June 22nd, 1 week after Congress had the fake debate about the real emergency that is the war in Iraq. On June 15th, Congress decided to stay the course in Iraq as they were having that mock debate. The 2,500th U.S. soldier death was reached in Iraq, and we decided to make a house call. Each pair of boots represents a U.S. soldier who has been killed in the war in Iraq since June 15th. The boots come from military families. Oftentimes the boots are donated by the family of the deceased. Today is July 10th. We have been here for several weeks, and we have now got 43 pair of boots.
At Operation House Call, there wasn't a lot of fanfare. There weren't any big guests, speeches, or marches. The demonstration was powerful because of its simple message.
Even as the tourists walk by, just reminding people that there is still a war being fought and that these 48 boots that are out here today represent 48 people that were alive a couple of weeks ago.
Many visitors to the demonstration were drawn because of the sheer honesty clearly exhibited by the military family members.
I don't think you can fight violence with violence, so, being here peacefully and information and just, I think it's effective because, you can't go around and starve yourself and do things that really are pointless. I mean, I can see from the woman, she really is grieving over it.
I thought it was effective. I certainly took notice of it.
And I didn't know that so many Americans died. I knew about the Iraqis, but I didn't know about the Americans. And it's kind of interesting to see people helping like this. I've never seen anything like this before.
Well, I think it's really powerful having the shoes represent the losses of Americans fighting in Iraq.
It makes me sad. All of these people, the empty boots, have mothers and fathers and wives and husbands, and it's just long enough.
Even people who are involved in the Washington political sphere were touched by the scene.
Jane.
Jane, and you live in the D.C. area?
No, I live in Minneapolis.
Okay, are you here on?
Lobbying Congress for veterans.
Okay.
I had Tia Steele, a mother of a fallen soldier, explain the situation to Jane.
Yeah, it represents just a very small fraction of the total members who have been killed. We belong to Military Families Speak Out, which is a collection of concerned family members, some of us who have military personnel in Iraq or who have been in Iraq. Some of us have lost family members there, and we're asking we're visiting the House and asking them to look at the boots every day and consider what the consequences are of their inaction.
I think action of VA nurse, retired VA nurse.
Oh my goodness, you've seen it.
Minneapolis VA is one of the 4 centers for the polytrauma veterans, which are the veterans that come back from Iraqi freedom. Every war has a different diagnosis. Ours is polytrauma, which is like a shaken baby syndrome. And
oh my God.
Yeah. So no, I think it's just this.
Yeah, we want the killing to stop.
Absolutely.
But not all of the responses were positive. Many people would often walk by making as little eye contact as possible. I asked one mother how she felt about these types of reactions.
I'm not surprised. Isn't that what most of the country's doing? Not looking, not feeling, not seeing. It's not their lives.
Al Zapala, a member who was at the demonstration every day since the beginning, also had some remarks regarding the negative arguments against the demonstration.
You know, if you want to get into like an intellectual or any other kind of debate, that's fine with me. We'll talk to anybody. But don't put your little zinger and leave, you know, throw that in there. You know, get a life, boom, and leave. Never surrender, boom, leave. These little zingers, and they don't want to really talk. They just want to go. Which tells you nothing. What does it mean to say get a life? What does it mean to say never surrender? You know, I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Let's delve into it. Let's see what the facts are. Let's see, you know, if we can come to some point of an agreement, even if we don't agree about everything.
It's clear that the issue over Iraq is divided, but Operation House Call does something different from every other demonstration to try and bridge the gap. It doesn't attack anybody. It just makes a point that many individuals and families are affected by the decisions made across the street. It plays off of one of humanity's most powerful emotions, compassion. And military families doesn't stop at demonstrating. They make the extra step. They ask those who stop to write a postcard to their senators and representatives. The cards are delivered by members of Military Families Speak Out who go to different congressional offices with the postcards and 2 pairs of boots to remind the representative of the 2 soldiers that die on average in Iraq each day. Stacy Bannerman comments on the process.
For the most part, the representatives accept the postcards. Some of them say thank you. Some of them receive them silently. Some of them accept them with a look of disdain, and there have been a few instances where delivery has been refused.
Writing the letters not only helped spread Operation House Call's message, but the action also seemed to strengthen the resolve of those who wrote.
It made me feel frustrated and a little bit empowered. I'm frustrated that the Congress hasn't been more out in front in ending the war in Iraq, and I'm also happy that I was able to at least just make my voice heard in this way.
I think that a lot of people in my generation, especially people in college, feel that this is an unjust war and that it's important that we bring the troops home as fast as possible. It's a needless place for them to be. If more people came out and decided to write letters to their congressmen and senators and just made that extra step for themselves, then a lot of good could be done.
The members watching over Operation House Call understand how polarizing this issue is, and are doing their best to reach out to anyone who wants to have an open discussion about the issue.
One of the things that disturbs me in this whole situation is that there's so little dialogue between people who disagree with each other, and I think if we would have quiet, open dialogue, we would appreciate that we're all in the same boat. And we all are afraid of terrorists, and we all want this country to be safe. What we disagree on is how we go about that, and that's where we need to talk, because the soul of this country is being destroyed by the arguing. It's important for everybody to reach out to somebody who disagrees with them, establish a dialogue, and realize that we all want, as I said before, the same thing. Because as long as we think we're going down different paths, we just keep going farther and farther apart, and we can't afford that in this country. We can't take that chance anymore.
However, some people refuse to listen.
When I first arrived here Tuesday morning, there was a family that walked by, and it was a father, a mother, and a couple of children, and he obviously was military, because he walked by and he yelled out, "We have to finish the job." Just pretty much angrily, he yelled out, "We have to finish the job." And his wife, who was standing, you know, they were walking, they didn't stop to talk to us. His wife said, "He's been there." And I told her, I responded back to her, "I have a son there. I have a son there now." And then she yelled back again, "He's been there." I said, "Well, I have a son there." And she angrily yelled back again, "He was there."
In either case, however, Military Families Speak Out has done an amazing thing to organize a demonstration through its growing network of over 3,200 families. and convince a number of them to travel away from their homes and jobs to D.C. for a week or two to work at the display and lobby their congressional representatives and others to end this war.
But a lot of times I think this is more about planting seeds, and so things that people see here, then they report when they go home, or when they're looking at pictures even about what they took pictures of, they start to think about that. Maybe you'll see the website on the sign. So I think that it sort of ripples out in that way. We've talked about the people who seem like they are movers and shakers very purposely do not make eye contact. And so maybe we've made them uncomfortable. And a lot of times it takes that discomfort to initiate change. And so it's not that we're happy that people are uncomfortable, but they have to be made to move. And sometimes discomfort's that impetus to move.
With the journey through the district complete, it is clear how important demonstrating is for America. Protests allow Americans to illustrate their passions in a public forum.
There's a camera across the street, supposed to be protecting me, storing every little file, make a promise and take a while. It's hooked up to a satellite, make sure the world's behaving right. I don't mean to bust your groove, think it's time we made a move. Freedom isn't free tonight. Freedom isn't free tonight.
But it also does so much more. Protests are a means of education. They can be innovative. They can open minds to new ideas. They can shine a light on issues left in the dark.
Constitution, Paul Revere, and I'm not trying to be disloyal, but I ain't dying for your oil. Now there's a camera on the bus. Are you with them? Are you with us?
Protests are an excellent way of forming new communities. Some communities may be made up of people who live within blocks of each other, while others are made up of those spanning the country and the world. Protests have the great power to cause change, even in the slightest way. In fact, since I left the district, some senators and representatives have pledged to push 2 new resolutions concerning the removal of U.S. soldiers from Iraq because of the boots display they saw every day from their office in the Capitol. America's voices are crucial to our nation's success. Our right to speak on our own behalf and not be silenced is one that did not come easy, and one no American should easily give up.
If they arrest you, please don't lie. 2, 3, tell them you paid to see me sing. Tell them you saw everything, and freedom isn't free.
It is a right that is not universal among countries, and a right that people paid and are paying the ultimate sacrifice to protect. Without demonstrations from both sides, America's true voice can never be heard.
Freedom isn't free tonight. Out of the F-sharp thing. I'm not trying to bust your groove. Think it's time we made a move. Freedom isn't free tonight. I know we've come a long way. We're changing day to day. will you roll?